Hey everybody, Bob Babbitt here, Challenged Athletes Live. Our guest today, Parapan Gold Medalist from 2019, 2021 Paralympic hopeful in the javelin, Mr. Justin Phongsavanh joins us. Justin, how you doing, brother?
I'm great, Bob. Thanks for having me today.
It's always such an honor. And I was thinking about that this morning. It's 5 years since the incident that really changed your life forever. And at that point, you're in high school, you're a football star, all conference. Then track and you're a wrestler. And then in track and field, you're, I love it, shot put, discus, and 100 and 200. That you don't see that much where somebody's a sprinter and a weight guy, and you were a big time weightlifter. So take
Yep.
me back, October 24th, 2015. You and your buddy Nick you're 18 years old and you're at the McDonald's in what, Ankeny, Iowa.
hmm Yeah, we were going camping that night and wanted a little bit of food to get in our stomachs before we went out and had a fire, hung out with some friends, and we decided to stop off at McDonald's in Ankeny. There's a newer McDonald's just popped up, and when before we left, everything changed. It was a crazy experience. We just went inside, got our food, and then when we were leaving the restaurant, an individual just did not see eye to eye with us, or something went on in his head, and he followed us out of the restaurant, proceeded to went to his car, grabbed his gun, followed us to our car. He initiated confrontation with us just by instantly pistol whipping my friend in the face. um, and then that's when everything went a little crazy. And I tried to break up the confrontation between him and my friend. That's when he pointed the gun at me. Luckily his wife came out and separated us, but when he went to his car, he opened the door, mounted up, and shot at us 4 times, and actually hit me twice, hit my friend once, and then missed once.
And you were paralyzed from the waist down from one of the
Correct.
bullets.
Yeah, the one that hit me in my upper arm traveled through my arm, down my body, through my lung, and then because it was a hollow point 40 caliber, it broke into about 5 different fragments, and one went straight into my spine at the T2 range.
Wow. I mean, the fact that the bullet went in your arm and ended up in your spine is
Oh yeah.
unbelievable. So you're 18 years old and now you're paralyzed. And this Gabriel Coco is the guy who shot you. He's a former soldier dealing with PTSD. You're in the hospital for 4 months. And at that point, there was a point where you had to make a decision, basically. Okay, either woe is me or this is a new situation and I'm going to embrace this and get whatever I can out of it. And obviously, anybody who's watching this knows what your choice was.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get to that point where you knew that, okay, I've got a curveball here, but I'm still Justin. I can still do whatever I want.
Absolutely. It was probably within the first 3 days I was pretty incapacitated. I was hooked up to all the machines and was still trying to come back to reality of my situation. And then it was about after a week where I had some alone time all the time between friend visits and family visits, where I would just stare at the ceiling and just think of, all the good times I had in my past before, and, what I thought at the time was taken from me that I'll never get back. So it was at that point where I say, all right, it's a do or don't. Rather, we're going to sit here and wallow in our pity and, not move on, or we're going to see what we can do with this current situation and see how far we can go with it and how great I can become. And then I started reaching out to other people that were, in the same situation to me, that have been in a chair and or paralyzed for decades, and what they've done to achieve, happiness, success in their own manner. And I started to put things that they've done and implemented into my life. And then I started to see, the, so to speak, light at the end of the tunnel, that there is potential, there is ways that I can go about it. So it was about that first week I really, kicked it into gear, and I said, hey, let's see what we can do. Let's see how far we can go.
So the other part about this, you can't really forget about what happened because there's still a court case going on.
Yes.
And the Gabriel gets sentenced to 5 years for
Mhm.
basically attempted murder.
Yeah.
And one part of you, I'm sure, is like angry. This is my life. This guy tried to take away, and he's getting a really minor, and he got out in 2 years.
Okay.
But again, you embrace the fact that I can't control that. This is what I can control. What did he say to you when he got his 5-year sentence and left the courtroom?
When he was leaving the courtroom after arraignment and he got his lesser charges that his lawyer was arguing the whole time, he looked at me and he looked to my friend and he said to me, "Enjoy your wheelchair," and then just proceeded to be escorted out.
So that's one of those moments, again, do or don't. That's where you can go home and turn the lights off and just be woe is me. But that seemed to inspire you to, because really at that point, I don't think you were thinking of going to college.
No.
Weren't you going to get a job as maybe like in electronics or something like that? What were you thinking
I
about
was
doing?
I was an electrical apprentice before I was paralyzed, so that was my goal. I was just wanted to be a journeyman electrician, wire houses, and carry on the traditional American dream.
And then you end up finding, how did you find adaptive sport?
Yeah, so I was in that in between stage. I got out of rehab from Lincoln, Nebraska, at a place called QLI in Valentine's Day. I came home. I couldn't start college until the summer because the semester already started, and I was bored. I was just bored at home. It was winter time. There's not much you can do, and I reached out to Adaptive Sports of Iowa, and they have a wheelchair basketball league. They do different clinics. It's a nice nonprofit for the Iowa region, and they got me into basketball, and I started doing basketball. But for someone who wrestled for 10 years and skipped basketball season every year, I could not shoot a basket. I could not figure out how to do any of it. And so I was like, maybe this isn't for me. And so the director was like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Paralympic track and field?" And I was like, "Never. I've never heard of it. I've never seen it." And he's like, "Let me show you." Showed me some YouTube videos of, people that are the same level of me throwing. And I was like, I can do this. This is something that I can get behind and I could probably go far in it. And so we started finding ways to give me a throwing chair, give me some javelins, find some training facilities. And I just started going up from there.
Quickly. I mean,
Very
really, it's been 5 years since your injury, and you're already won a gold medal at the Parapans.
Mhm.
So you got a throwing chair from CAF, and what year was that? Was that
That
like
was the year
17?
of 2017.
Got a chair, throwing chair. And for people who don't understand, that having a chair designed specifically for you, when it comes to adaptive equipment, a wheelchair, basketball chair, sled hockey chair, a sled hockey sled, all those things, it's not like you're walking to buy a pair of Nikes size 9.
Yep,
Everything has to be made for Justin. Getting
exactly.
a chair that fit you, how important was that to your success?
It made it so I was competing at a decently high level. I qualified for the national championships in 2017, and I ended up winning a gold medal there too for javelin.
Yeah.
But it was the transition from when I got that chair to the next year, and I trained in it, that I was able to achieve my national team standard, which was a PR of almost 3.5 meters. And for a javelin, when you're throwing 100 feet, to jump 15 feet is monstrous. It's such a big jump.
So at the U.S. Paralympic National Championships, you were fourth there, and then fourth at the Worlds in 2019, right?
Correct.
And then you're trying to make the 2021 Paralympic team for Tokyo. This extra year, do you look at that as a total bummer, or is it actually maybe a little blessing in disguise to give you a little more time?
Give or take, what's going on in the world. At first it seemed like a bummer because I was coming off world champs. I was throwing really well. The world champs didn't work out the way I wanted. And it was a great fuel. It was a great motivator to be like, all right, this is your first international competition. You didn't do well. Learn from the humility and grow. And so I hit 2020 going in hard. I mean, I was throwing beautifully, and then the pandemic hit. So with the games being postponed, it is almost a blessing. It is another year to train, to get better, to get wiser, to learn the craft. And so it was a bummer and a blessing at the same time. I take it out just every day, day by day, because that's all we can do, because got to live in the present. And I mean, I'm going to be better, and I'm going to creep up on this world record, and I'm going to rise these ranks.
So what's a world record right now, and how far are you from that?
The world record is 3190. My PR is 30.56, but that's I mean, there's practices where I could destroy this world record with no questions asked. It's just getting it in a competition.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, the other aspect of you that I think is really special. I've watched you coaching the kids. I've watched you at the CAF high school track and field workouts, and your enthusiasm for these kids, for kids who might not have ever thrown anything in their life, it just jumps. It when we're there at the high school, everybody knows. Everybody knows Justin is here because the energy level just went up 1,000 degrees. So talk a little about how important it is to you to give back to that next kid. Because like you said, you found adaptive sports. You sort of had to search around and someone said, hey, why don't you try track and field? You're that guy now helping the next generation.
Yeah, I think it's almost like an obligation or a duty to myself, to take the research that I've done in the past and the knowledge that I've acquired through multiple Paralympic training camps throughout the country, international meets, and to give back to these kids who, are going through high school, middle school, whatever they're going through, to almost find acceptance and a future purpose within adaptive sports like I did, that they can now align their talents, their efforts, and their hard work and channel it into something positive and upgoing, just like Paralympic throwing. It's an awesome outlet, and it's an easy way to almost find acceptance with your situation because you're surrounded by people of like disabilities or impairments, and it's a great environment. And I want to make sure that these kids know that what they're doing, it's incredible, it's inspiring, everyone loves to get behind it, and it's just a positive thing to get into.
How are you different? Because I think about a guy who wants to be, sort of journeyman electrician, and now you've traveled the world. There's a good chance you're going to be competing in Tokyo. I think I saw you speak Spanish and Mandarin. What the hell? So when you look back at the person you were before you were shot and the person you are now, how have you changed?
Yeah, it's definitely the wisdom and the knowledge that I've taken from my past experiences before I was injured and how things change. So it's my ability to apply the events that transpired in my past and what's going on, and I can apply it to the future. It's the biggest thing to learn from the lessons that you've gone through and to make sure that in the future, if something pops up, then hey, I've done this in the past, this is what resulted in it. And now if I choose option B, I could probably get a better result. So it's about thinking, especially in a wheelchair, you have to think 2 or 3 steps ahead. The probability of a situation turning in your favor by hey, there's a crack in the road. If I don't wheelie over it, am I going to hit the bump? Am I going to go out of my chair? If I go around the chair, is there another obstacle? Or C, do I wheelie over it and go and ask, or do I get help? So it's just thinking 3 steps ahead about what could be possible outcomes for that one situation and choosing the right one. And that's what I've done excellently.
I remember one of my buddies who was in construction before he was paralyzed said, "Hey, the biggest difference in my life is I went from 6'3" to 4'9" in about a minute and a half, I don't know, 2 seconds. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I'm looking up. I'm looking always up, looking at belt buckles or straight up all the time.
Yeah.
How hard has that been for you as a
Uh,
guy
I,
who's 6'1"?
yeah, I even said it in a previous interview that it's one of the hardest things to grasp. It's almost the overwhelming feeling of like social anxiety is when you get into a room and everyone's towering over you. You're in this chair, you're wider than you usually are. You need more space to get around. It's a tough thing to grasp, and it's one of those things where you have to do it. You have to go into a situation. If you want to do something, you have to be uncomfortable. And that's the kind of things that propel you to be a better person, is just get uncomfortable.
So the guy who shot you got out of prison, and 11 days later, you win the gold at the Parapans,
Yeah.
which is sort of an in-your-face moment? I mean, I'm sure you don't dwell on that part of it, but the fact that you've achieved so much, do you feel? What do you have any feelings towards this person who shot you at this point?
I mean, to give, an appropriate response,
Yeah.
I'll never forgive the guy for what he did. What he did was, unspeakable. I would never wish what he did upon my worst enemy. I only hope that he gets the help he has. He takes care of his family to the best of his degree, and yeah, he will live with, the decision that he made that night and the regret of everything that transpired. And I hope he gets everything that he needs in the help aspect so he doesn't do it again. And that's all I can really say about that guy.
What has CAF meant to you?
CAF is the probably the foundation of my Paralympic success. They, they're giving me outlets to not only inspire the children, the next generations of Paralympic, track and field or athletics in general, but it also gave me the foothold to pursue my dreams, the grants that they've given me, and the personnel that surrounded me with open arms and propelled me to where I'm at today and a Paralympic hopeful.
And you're down at the Olympic Training Center, right? At Chula
I
Vista?
am. I am in
Yeah.
Chula Vista at the most prestigious Paralympic training camp.
How fun has that been living down there?
Oh, it's incredible. I'm surrounded by Paralympians, Olympian, gold medalist Olympians, and I mean, it's an uplifting environment. It's just to be surrounded by greatness is just incredible.
Justin, what will it mean to you to make the Paralympic team and actually be in that opening ceremonies in Tokyo?
It's one of those things where I, I'm going to cry. It's all the emotions are gonna leave me. Just 5 years of hard work that built up to, one event, one big competition, and it's everything I dream of. It's going to mean everything to me, and I can't wait to have my family there with me to watch me compete and show everyone, not only in my hometown, but the people that are just going through struggles, that if you try at something, you dedicate yourself, anything is possible. The sky's the limit.
Justin Phongsavanh has been our guest on Challenge Athletes Live. Justin, always such an honor to get to chat with you. Keep training, brother. I can't wait to be in Tokyo and watch you. And the thought is, if you're going to be on the podium, why be looking up at anybody, right? You might as well be on the top step, is the way I always look at that.
You got it. That's it.
Justin Phongsavanh has been our guest. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Challenge Athletes Live. We will catch you next time.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Justin.